Hey everyone, continuing with this developing royal situation, what has become increasingly clear to seasoned observers is that the decision to quietly consult a child psychologist was not treated inside Sussex circles as a moment of alarm, but rather as what several child development experts would describe as structured early-stage parenting. In the days after the initial reports began circulating, individuals familiar with California-based advisory environments suggested that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's approach followed a pattern increasingly common among high-profile, media-exposed families. Instead of waiting for visible concerns to escalate, many public figures now opt for proactive developmental check-ins, particularly when raising children under unusually intense global scrutiny. Importantly, no verified medical concern regarding Prince Archie has been publicly confirmed by the family. That distinction continues to be emphasized by responsible commentators. However, the reported consultation itself has drawn attention because it reflects a broader shift in how modern high-visibility parents manage child development in high-pressure environments. From a news perspective, the context matters. Child psychologists frequently note that early developmental consultations are often routine, especially for children growing up in environments marked by frequent travel, security protocols, and constant public attention. In such cases, evaluations are often precautionary rather than corrective. According to individuals familiar with elite pediatric consultation patterns in California, proactive developmental assessments have become significantly more common among families whose children grow up in highly structured or highly scrutinized environments. The goal, experts say, is typically reassurance and optimization, not diagnosis of a problem. Still, inside royal commentary circles, the report has triggered predictable waves of interpretation. Some observers view the move simply as modern, attentive parenting consistent with Harry and Meghan's publicly stated focus on mental health awareness. Others see it as another example of how differently the Sussex household now operates compared with traditional royal child-rearing approaches. Royal historians note that previous generations of the House of Windsor rarely discussed or publicly acknowledged any form of child psychological consultation. That does not mean such consultations never occurred, experts caution. Rather, it reflects the monarchy's long-standing culture of extreme privacy around family health and development matters. By contrast, Harry and Meghan's broader public messaging over the past several years has consistently emphasized emotional well-being, therapy normalization, and early mental health awareness. Within that framework, analysts say, a quiet developmental consultation would align with their established philosophy. Across palace monitoring circles in London, the reaction, according to seasoned royal watchers, appears measured and restrained. There has been no official palace comment, which is entirely consistent with long-standing protocol regarding the private lives of non-working royal children. Communications specialists emphasize that Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace traditionally avoid any engagement with matters involving minors, particularly when those children are being raised outside the UK. However, several observers suggest the development is nevertheless being watched as part of broader Sussex trajectory monitoring. Not because of concern about Archie himself, there is no verified evidence of that, but because every strategic decision made by Harry and Meghan continues to be analyzed through the wider lens of their post-royal positioning. From a structural standpoint, the reported consultation reinforces a pattern that has become increasingly clear over the past few years. The Sussex household is operating fully within a California-based, modern parenting framework rather than a traditional royal model. That distinction may seem subtle, but in royal analysis circles, it carries symbolic weight. Modern high-profile parenting in the United States tends to emphasize early intervention, emotional vocabulary development, and preventative mental health support. Traditional royal child-rearing historically emphasized privacy, resilience training, and institutional continuity. The Sussex approach appears firmly aligned with the former. Prince Harry's own public reflections over the years provide important context here. In multiple interviews in his memoir, he has spoken openly about the long-term emotional impact of growing up under intense public pressure and losing his mother at a young age. Many child development experts believe it would be entirely consistent for a parent with that lived experience to prioritize early psychological support for his own children. Meghan Markle's background also plays a role in the analytical picture. Coming from the American entertainment industry, she has long operated within a professional culture where therapy, coaching, and developmental consulting are widely normalized. Several media analysts suggest that her influence likely reinforces the couple's comfort with proactive expert consultation.
Together, the Sussex parenting model appears deeply shaped by both personal history and cultural environment.
Meanwhile, international media response has begun to settle into a more nuanced phase. Initial headlines leaned heavily toward speculation, but more measured coverage in recent days has increasingly framed the reported consultation as a preventative wellness step rather than evidence of any confirmed issue. Media psychologists note that this tonal shift is common once early reporting gives way to expert context. Still, public fascination remains high. Any story involving the children of globally recognized figures inevitably draws outsized attention, and Archie, as the firstborn of Harry and Meghan, continues to occupy a unique symbolic position in the modern royal narrative.
Observers in the United States note that audience sentiment there tends to interpret proactive child psychology consultation positively, viewing it as attentive parenting.
In the United Kingdom, reactions appear more mixed, reflecting broader cultural differences in how early developmental support is publicly discussed.
This transatlantic perception gap is something royal communications teams are known to track carefully.
Because in the modern media era, narrative interpretation often matters as much as the underlying facts. Inside Sussex-aligned advisory environments, individuals familiar with the couple's broader strategy suggest there has been no intention to publicly spotlight any private parenting decisions. The consultation, according to those sources, was handled quietly and professionally, consistent with the couple's increasing emphasis on controlled personal boundaries. That controlled boundary approach has become a defining feature of their post-royal life. Appearances are selective. Messaging is measured. And family matters, particularly involving the children, are typically kept tightly shielded from public view. Royal reputation specialists say this discipline reflects a long-term learning curve since the couple's early years in the spotlight. Over time, they appear to have moved toward what analysts call strategic privacy, revealing broad values publicly while protecting specific family details. The Archie consultation report fits squarely within that pattern. From a purely journalistic standpoint, the most important takeaway is not the existence of a psychologist visit itself, which, experts stress, is increasingly common among high-profile families, but what it signals about the Sussex parenting philosophy. It signals prevention over reaction, support over silence, and modern developmental awareness over traditional royal reserve. Whether that approach ultimately influences broader royal parenting norms in the future remains an open question. Royal institutions historically evolve slowly, often absorbing external cultural shifts over generational timeframes rather than immediate adaptation. For now, palace posture remains exactly what seasoned observers would expect: calm, distant, and non-reactive. Prince William continues focusing on institutional duties and future monarchy positioning. King Charles maintains his characteristic observational distance. And the Sussex household continues operating within its independent California framework. As this story settles into its longer news cycle phase, most responsible analysts agree on one key point: absent any verified medical concern which has not been confirmed, the reported consultation should be understood primarily through the lens of modern proactive parenting rather than crisis response. Still, in the uniquely magnified world of royal-adjacent media coverage, even routine decisions can carry amplified symbolic resonance. Because the modern House of Windsor is no longer navigating a purely British media environment. It is operating inside a global, digitally accelerated attention economy, one where parenting choices, media strategy, and institutional identity increasingly intersect in ways previous royal generations never faced. For Prince Harry and Meghan, the quiet consultation appears to be another step in reinforcing the parenting model they have consistently signaled since relocating to the United States: hands-on, preventative, and informed by contemporary psychological awareness. For the palace, the moment reinforces a broader reality already well understood inside royal planning rooms: the Sussex family is now fully embedded in a parallel cultural and operational ecosystem. And for global audiences, the story offers another glimpse into how modern royal-adjacent families are redefining the balance between privacy, parenting, and public interest in an era where every quiet decision can quickly become worldwide conversation. If you found this detailed royal news breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, it genuinely helps the channel grow. Share this update with viewers who closely follow royal developments, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you see this as simply modern parenting, or something that reflects the unique pressures of raising children in the global spotlight? And don't forget to subscribe for more clear, fact-focused royal coverage, because in today's fast-moving royal landscape, the next development often arrives when least expected. Across private advisory circles, the quiet consultations surrounding Archie did not fade after the initial evaluation phase. Instead, according to individuals familiar with high-profile family support planning, the process appeared to move into what specialists often describe as monitored follow-through, a period where observation, adjustment, and parental alignment become more important than any single diagnostic conversation. From a clinical standpoint, child psychologists frequently emphasize that early developmental reviews are rarely treated as one-time events, especially in families navigating intense public visibility. What matters more, experts say, is how consistently parents respond to professional guidance once initial feedback has been received. And by most external indicators, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's approach has remained notably structured.
Observers who track the Sussex household's public rhythm have repeatedly pointed to the couple's carefully controlled parenting environment.
Public appearances involving Archie remain extremely limited.
Photographs are selectively released.
And the overall tone surrounding their children continues to emphasize privacy, routine, and emotional stability. Child development specialists note that such consistency often reflects parents who are deliberately following professional recommendations around environmental calm and overstimulation management. Importantly, no verified public medical report regarding Archie has ever been released, and responsible analysts continue to stress that any professional consultation involving a young child is both common and often precautionary. However, within royal commentary circles, the broader significance of the reported psychologist involvement lies less in the clinical details and more in what it reveals about Harry and Meghan's parenting philosophy. Several pediatric behavior experts consulted by media analysts have noted that modern high-profile parents increasingly seek early developmental input even when no major concern is present. In many cases, such consultations are used to optimize communication patterns, emotional regulation strategies, and early learning environments rather than to address any specific disorder. From that perspective, the Sussex decision, as described by insiders, fits a growing global trend among highly visible families. Inside Montecito, according to sources familiar with the couple's lifestyle structure, the emphasis has remained on maintaining what one observer described as a low-noise childhood environment. That phrase has drawn attention among royal watchers because it aligns closely with contemporary child psychology recommendations for young children growing up under unusual public scrutiny. Prince Harry's own public reflections on childhood trauma have also been cited by analysts as an important contextual factor. Over the past several years, Harry has spoken openly about the long-term emotional impact of growing up in the royal spotlight following the death of his mother, Princess Diana. Developmental psychologists note that parents who have experienced early public exposure themselves are often particularly proactive about shielding their own children from similar pressures. From a news perspective, this generational awareness is significant. Rather than reacting to a visible crisis, the Sussex approach, as interpreted by observers, appears rooted in prevention and emotional buffering. That distinction helps explain why the reported psychologist involvement has been framed by many experts not as a response to alarm, but as part of a broader protective parenting model. Meghan Markle's background also adds another layer to the analysis. Before joining the royal family, she had already spent years working within high-performance media environments where brand management, public perception, and emotional resilience were constant considerations. Several family wellness commentators suggest that her professional experience may contribute to a particularly structured approach to early childhood planning. Meanwhile, palace-adjacent observers continue to maintain a measured tone when discussing the situation. Inside Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace, there has been no visible public response related to Archie's development, a silence that royal protocol experts say is entirely consistent with long-standing royal practice regarding minor children. Historically, the monarchy avoids any commentary that could be interpreted as intruding into the private well-being of younger family members, particularly those not currently serving in official royal roles. That institutional restraint appears firmly in place now. However, seasoned royal watchers note that behind the scenes, senior advisors always monitor broader family dynamics for potential reputational ripple effects. Not because of concern about the child himself, but because public narratives involving royal children can quickly become emotionally amplified across global media ecosystems. So far, that amplification has remained relatively contained. Media coverage in the United States has generally framed the reported consultation in the context of proactive modern parenting. In the United Kingdom, commentary has been more cautious, with analysts emphasizing the lack of verified clinical details and the importance of avoiding speculation about any young child's development. This transatlantic tone difference is something royal communications specialists are known to watch closely. Modern royal narratives often evolve differently across American and British audiences, particularly when they involve Harry and Meghan. What remains clear across both markets is that public fascination with the Sussex family's parenting approach remains extremely high. Part of that interest stems from the couple's consistent message about breaking cycles. Over the past several years, Harry and Meghan have repeatedly emphasized their intention to raise their children with greater emotional openness and psychological awareness than previous royal generations experienced. Child development experts say that message resonates strongly with modern parents who prioritize mental health literacy and early emotional support. Within professional psychology circles, early childhood consultations are widely viewed as responsible rather than reactive. Many families, particularly those with access to high-level medical resources, schedule developmental reviews simply to ensure communication milestones, emotional responses, and learning patterns are progressing smoothly. In Archie's case, according to the limited insider descriptions available, the reported consultation appears to fit within that preventive framework rather than indicating any confirmed medical concern. Still, the situation highlights a broader shift in how the modern royal generation approaches parenting. Previous eras of the monarchy often maintained a more reserved public posture around child development, with emotional and psychological discussions rarely addressed openly. Harry and Meghan's willingness to engage with contemporary child wellness practices reflects a generational change that royal historians say is likely to continue shaping public expectations of the family in the years ahead. Prince William and Princess Catherine, for example, have also incorporated more visibly modern parenting signals in their public messaging over the past decade, particularly around early childhood development initiatives. This broader royal trend suggests that the monarchy as a whole is gradually adapting to evolving public attitudes toward children's mental health and emotional well-being. For Harry and Meghan, however, the stakes are uniquely high. Operating outside the formal royal structure while still carrying global recognition means that even routine parenting decisions can attract disproportionate scrutiny. Media strategists note that this is one of the central challenges facing the Sussex family, maintaining privacy while living under persistent international observation. So far, their strategy appears consistent. Limited exposure, controlled imagery, measured communication, and when necessary, quiet consultation with professional experts. Whether the recent reports about Archie's developmental review continue to generate headlines will likely depend on how the broader media environment evolves in the coming months. Historically, stories involving royal children tend to cycle in intensity before gradually cooling, particularly when no official statements or confirmed medical findings emerge. For now, analysts across both sides of the Atlantic appear aligned on one key point: the Sussex parenting model is increasingly being studied not for signs of crisis, but for signs of calculated modern family strategy. And that distinction may ultimately matter far more than any single headline. Because in the rapidly evolving landscape of the modern monarchy, the way the next generation is raised, quietly, carefully, and with professional guidance, may shape public perception for decades to come. If you found this in-depth royal news breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, it genuinely supports the channel. Share this update with viewers who closely follow royal developments, and drop your thoughts in the comments about how modern royal parenting is changing public expectations. And don't forget to subscribe for continued fact-focused royal coverage as this story continues to develop.